Welcome to the Effective Engineering Manager podcast.
It's good to be here, Slava. It's your time today. What would you like to talk about?
Today, I'd like to share a simple, very low effort, and very highly effective approach to creating great performance reviews by applying the technique I call engineer's diary.
Preparing performance reviews is often one of the activities that all engineering managers, including myself, dread because it's extremely time consuming and sometimes hard to do. So, how can we make it effective, not to mention low effort?
Great question, and there's a good answer to this, or maybe even a great answer. So, well, first of all, why is that performance reviews are so hard, and why is it preparing them so tough and time consuming, and no one likes to do it? And yet, those are very important things. Promotions depend on them, bonuses depend on them, recognition depends on them, team health depends on them. This is important stuff, right? And yet, we all dread them, right? And what I've discovered that the dread comes from us managers not knowing what our team, what our direct reports accomplished. And I mean not knowing as in like literally, if for 6 months we are working and killing ourselves, the team is killing themselves, right? It's very hard to remember everything we have accomplished, everything we have done after 6 months. It's just, I can tell it's just impossible. You might remember some, highlights, but that's it, right? Because we're operating in a high performance environment, lots of stuff getting done, and lots of context getting switched on the way, right? Things get forgotten. And that's why when the performance review comes and you have to prepare it for your team, for each of those individuals, and regardless managers or engineers, you have to be diligent and thorough and, make sure that it's great, right? If they did a good job, right? And I'm talking about good jobs, right? We may talk about situations when someone is not performing separately, right? So that's why I thought that it's worth discussing. And I don't remember when it happened to me, but a while back, maybe I'd say some 10-15 years ago, as an engineer. I was about 5 years in the United States since I immigrated, right? I found myself to be in the situation where I had to do more and more stuff, and things began to get forgotten, right? And to contain this, and I'm not talking about managing stuff in the issue tracking system, right? Asks from your team, from your boss, from your partners, right? It's a lot of things happening at the same time, and you need to take care of them all, right? So what I've started doing, and I started running what I called engineer's diary, right? And engineer's diary is a very simple thing. In my case, it's usually a Word document, but people used other things. I sometimes used Wiki, personal space in Wiki to do this, right? I would start my day with a plan, right? And it's just literally, it's very simple. The date. It says plan, and then the list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or can be just bullet points of what I want to do, right? And as I go throughout the day, I move those items which I have accomplished. It can be, whatever was in the sprint I have done or for the day, right? Or some asks from my boss or from the team, my partners, right? And I move them to this section called done, right? So essentially each date in the diary, in the engineer's diary, has a date, subsection plan, and the section done, right? And I've seen folks just checking off, crossing them out or putting done prefix to whatever, and I've done it myself. So there's no wrong way to do it, as long as there's a plan and there's a section done, right, with the things that you have accomplished, right? And so this allowed me to contain the continuous context switching and get things done. And also one of the important things that I also took care of the things my boss asked, because bosses rarely come to you with the Jira tasks, right? Or issue taking tasks. They, throw something at you, ask to get it done and move on, right? So you have to keep track of it, right? So that's basically how I managed to start getting things done without losing my mind and without drowning in the context, right? And after I transitioned my career to engineering management, one of the things I started doing with my teams is to offer them this as a tool, right? Hey, don't fear of continuous stream of requests and asks, right? Start an engineer's diary, prioritize per your understanding, get your boss's stuff done, get what you was planned for this inside the sprint for the day, and take care of the rest, right? And put them, in your done section, and you're gonna have a full sense of control of the situation, and you're gonna get stuff done, right? Because it's a really, you started on the task, finished it, started on the next one. And by the way, if someone comes in the middle of it, right, you just put it in your diary's planned work, right? And that's it, right? Now, what happens if you weren't able to finish something? You overflow it into the next day, right? At the beginning of the next day, you just pull whatever what was needed to be done in your plan and see if it still needs to be done. If yes, then you work on it. If no, then you just drop it, right? At some point I had section dropped, right? Because I wanted to know that I didn't do it intently, right? I delegated to the floor, right? So that's basically, and it worked really well. And then at some point when those performance reviews started coming up, and I was on point to sometimes to deliver performance reviews for up to 20 people, right? It was sort of dawned on me. I don't know how, I don't remember the exact moment, but it dawned on me like, hey, the team is already running the diary and they're already running the done list, right? Why don't I just ask them to send me the diary and use it as a source of truth for my performance review, right? Plus, things that I remembered they accomplished and something was great, right? And this is when I started doing it, and it has become trivial, right? It just became completely non-effort, right? So I could do these days I can do with the team who does engineer's diary or manager's diary. I can do, I would say, one person per day. One person in 4 hours, with a high quality, highlighting the great accomplishments, not wasting any accomplishment, and I can generate a performance review in a half of a day for an individual, right? For a team of 6, 7, 8 people, essentially all you need is maybe 2-3 days, right? And it's largely formatting and breaking and categorizing things so that they're digestible by the promotion committees, by bonus committees and stuff like this, right? Essentially, it's mostly organizing rather than trying to remember, right? So that's how it went, and that's basically how engineer's diary works. I'm doing it myself. After 15 years, it's a very strong habit, right? And sometimes I miss it, and by the way, it's okay to miss it, right? Sometimes things can pile on you so fast that you don't even have time for that. You don't have those 15 minutes to start a day with the manager's diary or engineer's diary. It happens, but usually I feel uncomfortable, right, with missing those days, right? Another thing which is I encourage my direct reports to do is to don't forget the accomplishments. You've done something you feel good about, right? And maybe it was a small thing, maybe it wasn't in the issue tracking system, right? But maybe you went and helped someone, right? Maybe you troubleshooted production issue and helped to reduce the time to resolution, whatever, right? Put it in. Right? If you want to call it out, I've seen my folks using star character for accomplishments, or exclamation marks, whatnot, right? Whatever works. I really don't care, right? And for myself, I just use a star character in curly braces for things that I want to call out and remember. So. That's basically the sort of a very quick how to on how it's done. So any thoughts, any questions?
No, I think you hit on. I think the manager's or the engineer's diary or manager's diary is an absolutely beautiful tool, and I think when you shared that with me and I started using it, it's really helped. And I think it's very effective because it does two things that are often the reason why people dread performance reviews. Number one, it helps you as an individual track your accomplishments because oftentimes reviews start with a self-evaluation, and if you can't remember everything you've done in the whole year, albeit a lot of stuff, it's hard to even put that together, right? So you're already at somewhat of a disadvantage in advocating for your case, especially if you're looking to get a promotion. And I think the other thing it does is that by keeping it relevant every day, every week, and hopefully if you're having one-on-ones with your boss, you're already prepped to share information with your boss regularly so that they're also in the loop on those things, right? Because if we what we want to avoid as managers is waiting till December 31st to open the book and start putting a review together, right? That's where the challenge comes. It's like, I don't remember what this guy did. I know he did a lot of good stuff, but I don't have the specifics. Now I got to go research it. I got to go talk to people, right? So you're being very reactive instead of proactive in collecting that throughout the course of the year. So I think this tool is a great and easy way to keep yourself honest to your accomplishments and areas that you focused on. It helps you keep focus for those, and it helps keep your boss in the loop on the things you're doing through your weekly one-on-ones. Because at the end of the day, performance reviews they're not meant to be like getting a grade in college. These should not be surprises. These should not be things where your boss is using it as a tool to admonish you or hold you back or anything else political. It should be completely transparent. It should be, obvious. It should be highly focused on things that you've done well, because if there are things that you're not doing well, those you should not wait till the performance review to evaluate them, right? If you're doing that, then there's a lot of wrong things happening there, and I think we've touched on a few of those in other episodes. So I'm totally bought into this. I think it's a great and easy way. And I think you're absolutely right. It's not only effective, but it is very low effort for you, and something you can use and share with your directs as well very easily. So I think it's a great tool.
Yeah, Adam, good points, and I'm super happy that you touched on the self reviews, right? How can you remember if you worked so hard, right? How can you remember what happened, right? Here it is. Here's the record, right? You've done it, right? And it's definitely a great, also, just like you said, it's a great tool for communicating your accomplishments to your boss, right? And I've seen many folks using it during the one-on-ones, right? Start one-on-one with, hey, this is what happened, this is what I have accomplished last week, A, B, C, D, and F, right? Try to remember what happened if you don't have it on record for yourself, right? Absolutely. So, yes, and definitely, like I said, it's not only, it's a self-management tool, it's supporting your own boss, making their life easier so that they don't have to struggle. And again, supporting yourself when it comes to the performance review cycle. And by the way, having your boss to know that you're continuously contributing, right? If you cannot remember, or if you cannot bring up the great things you have accomplished, even within a week, right? I've seen orgs that think that if someone is not reporting on their progress, they're not doing anything useful, right? That's a great tool. That's a great tool for that too, right? And in fact, I've seen orgs which people routinely would send, the update to their boss. Hey, this is what I have accomplished in a week. And in fact, one of the companies, my team started doing it without me asking them, right? And I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? I actually know what they're doing and how good they are. How great is that, right? So anyway, that's good stuff. And so the question is, how do you launch with a team, right? Obviously, the tool is very simple, right? It's just three points, right? So very easy. What I suggest, through one-on-ones, say, hey, I would like to launch the engineering managers tool or the engineering engineer's diary tool or manager's diary tool with you guys, and this is how you do it, right? Explain to them that any document or any medium for that matter, HTML, any note-taking applications, all modern email applications have note-taking for capabilities. Offline documents, whatever works. Right? If it's an offline document, make sure that you back it up regularly. But the last thing you want to do is to lose it, right? And back up on a monthly or weekly basis, right? Explain the content. Say, hey, please start your day with filling a plan, right? Like the date. Here's the plan for the day, and they have a pre-populate section done, and then fill it as you go and move things from plan to done. Right, or tag them. And what I suggest, do not insist on this particular, like this is exactly the format, right? Encourage them, but if they prefer using different way of tagging things which are done or accomplishments of their own, let them. This is not the time or situation to be religious about it. As long as they plan and keep track of what was done, and also keep track of their accomplishments. And by the way, you can also coach them to track your own asks, saying, hey, if you want an easier life, create a section, bosses asks, right? And put stuff there so that you don't miss it, or tag it somehow. Me personally, I just use a single word, boss, column, and then the ask, right? And then so that I usually put them on top of my plan for the day or for a week. Days usually if it's asked to be delivered immediately or whatever the running requests. Right, and that's it. And basically another thing is that once you had one-on-ones during your regular team meeting or staff meeting, reiterate, saying, hey folks, talk to you all, we are launching this great tool, gonna help you, gonna help me, gonna help the company to make sure that all your accomplishments are accounted for and rewarded. I've rarely seen people saying, no, I'm not going to do it. And by the way, it's not a tool for making sure that they know what they're doing, right? It's the tool for the direct reports, first of all, right? For them to keep track of their own accomplishments, right? You do not, I strongly discourage to doing check-ins on, hey, show me your, engineers or managers diary, right? Don't do this. It's not a prove to me that you have a plan. There are better tools for this. So that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to add to that, I think talked about how to make it easy or even easier for folks to do, or I'm sure they're doing it regularly. When we talked about time management several podcasts back, one of the things we talked about was the weekly brain dump. And if you're doing that, that's a great time to be able to also update your diary as well, because you're taking time to look at the things that you were going on in your mind during the week, the things that you have to prioritize, and even things that you've done and you can push off. It's a great time to just have those both in your notes at the same time and update one and then feed it into the other. So great way for our listeners to kind of tie two different tools together. Absolutely. All right. So Slava, can you give our listeners a quick checklist that they can start using to be ready for performance review cycle with little effort?
Absolutely. So starting today, I suggest do it today. Ask your direct reports to start running an engineer's diary or manager's diary. Coach them to start each day with filling the engineer's diary with a plan for the day. Ask them to mark things they've finished as done at the end of the day. Ask them to note any accomplishments, however small, in the engineer's diary. When the review period comes, ask your directs to send you the list of things they did and accomplished. And to make it even more effective, ask them to scan the emails they sent for things that if they miss something, right? And then use what you got from your directs to build a strong performance review by breaking things into 4 categories. And generally I suggest these ones: contributions to the product, people and team, processes and tools. And when you're launching this great tool, just talk it through one-on-ones and then launch it during your team or staff meeting. That's it.
Well, that's awesome, Slava. Thank you very much. This was good stuff as always.
Thank you, Adam. More good stuff is coming. And I encourage our listeners to let us know what they think or send us more topics to cover. Our email is contact@effectiveem.com or find us on the web at effectiveem.com.